Hello, my name's Michael Keneally and this is my post number 2 about Sade Sate, the often difficult, the often completely life-changing period when Saturn transits across your natal moon. So please see my part 1 post, which actually has 2 parts, 1A and 1B, where I explain what Sade Sate is and how you absolutely definitely need both Vedic and Western astrology to identify your issues that will be highlighted and to seek to heal them. In this part 2 Sade Sate post, I actually want to explain the sorts of things you might find yourself forced to face during your Sade Sate period and ways to handle your Sade Sate period. And then there's a third post all about the nature of Saturn. So in this part 2 post, well, Sade Sate will so often bring us such difficulties as loss of money, job problems, health issues, and we're each forced to face the nature of our life challenges. We're called to successfully deal with them, and that can take a lot of change in our sort of boxed mindsets, in our habits, and working with the karmas and destinies that our soul chose for us in this lifetime. So our challenge is firstly to identify the real nature of the challenges that arise now for us in Sade Sate. And then we have to stumble across, work out our best path out of the problems. And thirdly, crucially, once we've identified the problem issues and the apparent solution way forward, we then need to pursue the path with energy, but with loving care for ourselves and those around us. Okay, let's look at the 3 signs that Saturn transits through for our Sade Sate. Well, first of all, you need to know that the 3 main periods, you'll experience financial problems and financial challenges and maybe conflicts, maybe health problems. And the exact issues that will arise will depend on what house and what sign in your birth chart Saturn is transiting through. In the second and central 2.5 year period, you'll need to identify, clarify and solve more challenging issues of health, relationship scripts, maybe failure to succeed, financial problems, health problems. You'll need to identify the true you. What's your right self, your right way of managing your life rhythms through day after day? And how are you going to deal with the karmic challenges? Whereas in the third part of Sade Sate, when Saturn transits through the sign after your natal moon, you need to obey Saturn's stern call for purpose. We need to make the transformations that are essential if we're to become who we were meant to be in this lifetime. delivering a harvest for ourselves and for those dear to us. As I mentioned in part 1, Sade Sate is not only assessed according to the 3 signs Saturn goes through, the sign before the moon, the sign of the moon, and the sign after the moon. And indeed, timing can be a bit inaccurate if the moon isn't fairly central in that second sign. We also need to know the dates and nature of the nakshatras that Saturn will be passing through during our Sade Sate period. This is so often a more exact timetable than the 3 signs timetable, which is really only accurate, as I said, if Saturn is in the middle of the central sign. What are the nakshatras? Well, the nakshatras are the utterly wonderful 27 lunar sign zodiac of Vedic astrology. They're supremely accurate statements of our personality, our life path, and they're very, very useful and good on our relationship issues. You really do need to check out the nakshatras you have for each of the planets in your birth chart, including, of course, Western planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, Sedna, etc. It can be good, having studied your nakshatras or got a reading from me about them, to list the challenges that you feel you're now drawn to work with in this Sade Sate. And of course also monitor utterly and record what strengths you have developed and you have natally as you pass through these 7.5 years. You need to get a picture of what areas of my life need more attention. What behaviour patterns do I need to alter? Be prepared for sacrifices. Be prepared for creativity and innovation. You may even have to spend months sort of looking around before it becomes clear what particular innovative change needs to take place in the way you manage your life, the way you assess what your life's about. Be creative, and while all this is going on, try to balance the key areas of your life without tiring yourself, because Sade Sate can be associated with wearing ourselves out. Don't overdo it. Saturn, and I'll be talking about Saturn in part 3, is a strict but wise teacher. And if we fail to respond to Saturn's karmic demands, including of course his specific karmic demands as stated in our birth chart, then we suffer. It's not Saturn making us suffer, we're making ourselves suffer out of our ignorance or cussedness. But if we do the correct needed work for our karmas to be solved for this lifetime, and some of those karmas will date back thousands of years through many past lifetimes, well then we'll experience golden reaping. You see, Saturn was originally an agricultural deity. So during your Sade Sate, value your time, value your energy, monitor it, value your commitments, structure your life, work and relationships properly and realistically and lovingly. most certainly very often need to cut back to essentials, even though every now and then we have to branch out in reaching for truths that we need, that we don't know about. But generally speaking, cut back to essentials. And certainly live with integrity, speak with integrity. Crucially, find the way that is right for you to cut back on your anxiety. Sade Sate is typical for overthinking and fear. I use every Friday a shamanic journeying and tarot and runes, and then a Norse process called Sever, where you, as it were, even magically weave in an intention. And I feel so great that I've got that Friday session. I'm in Sade Sate, I'm in the middle phase, by the way. And I can teach you how to do, these different healing and supportive techniques, if you book a reading with me. So let's look at the energy of the 7 nakshatras that Saturn will transit through during your Sade Sate period. Well, the first one is called Nadana, and the stability of mind is especially threatened. We feel endless mental stress on and off. This is the start of our Sade Sate. Nadana is a Sanskrit term meaning final, deadly or perishable. In Vedic astrology, the term is associated with energies of destruction, crisis, endings, misfortune, and is inauspicious. Okay, the second of the 7 nakshatras that Saturn will transit through during your Sade Sate period is called Mitra. It's a more relaxed time when Saturn's going through the 2nd nakshatra. But do note that some of the things we get up to may actually turn out to be fool's paradise. The 3rd nakshatra period is typically a sudden block to career, a lack of success time, or feeling a lack of success. There could be problems with father or authority or advisors, and we may not be listening. So the 4th nakshatra is the central period, and that's major stress. It's the key transit. So feeling disaffected. There's a need to notice what's going on and exercise real patience at this time. And of course there can be rebirths arising out of these experiences. And depending on age, there can be health crises. There can be career crises, and perhaps there need to be career crises because you're in the wrong career even. And you don't know what the right career is. A major crisis area can be relationship, so certainly try to work really hard to achieve loving connection, assuming that the relationship can be saved. This is the centre of your Sade Sate. Okay, the 5th nakshatra typically involves suffering financial loss, feeling you have less, and so there's downsizing often. The 6th nakshatra, the penultimate one, is last obstacles, being presented with challenges that give us the opportunity to tie up remaining loose threads. Now the 7th and final nakshatra period is tough on happiness. We can feel totally burned out by now. But ideally, all the challenges you have identified and met will make you stronger and cleverer. This is the end of Sade Sate, although do note that Sade Sate actually ends somewhat before Saturn gets to the end of this 7th nakshatra. But the best part of it, though, is that you're actually stepping into a new chapter of your life. What will that be? Focus on your growth. Know that this is your time to shine. So to book an astrology reading with me, go to my Star Wheel Astrology website. And you can enroll on one of my wonderful astrology courses on my Star Wheel Astrology website. There's, individual tuition covering all the sort of depth you're open to and need, whatever the level of the course. You can certainly book an add-on shamanic journey in addition to your astrology reading. So you can go to the PayPal button at the foot of the shamanism page on my Druid Forest School website. If it's relevant, also look at my Love Star Dating website. So that's a website we've set up for those who are on a spiritual journey, who are looking for love. And there's a little panel of healers who have wonderful healing modalities or offer wonderful readings that can be so helpful. Okay, so next go on to the third post, the third part in this series on Sade Sate. What is the nature of Saturn? And what is the nature of Saturn in my chart, my life, at this time? Okay, all blessings to your management of your Sade Sate period, and look forward to offering you part 3. Thank you.